Alright guys, HyDra again today. Hope you're doing well and enjoying your day so far. Lots of talk going into the new season about sound equalization. It plagued the league throughout the entirety of Modern Warfare 2, and there were certain teams and certain players that were the key offenders. Octane believes that Awakening and the Boston Reach are basically going to go to hell for their abuse of sound equalization last season, saying it was absolutely unacceptable, the type of stuff that was going on, and also very much implying that there needs to be something done about it going into next season, especially with Awakening presumably getting another spot back on the starting team in the CDL. Very much interested to your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always, I'd greatly appreciate it. Accuracy's birthday, I believe, today, and Accuracy and Awakening may well be an AR duo next season, so that is a big talking point we will be getting into. Just wanted to give a quick update on Doug actually as well here, because you guys know that, as he says, exactly 2 months ago he decided to begin training for a new Guinness World Record to break the most pull-ups in 24 hours. He's been going crazy hard for this, and I gotta respect it. Like, the guy's banging out like 2,000 pull-ups in a 6-hour window. Now, to get to 8,000 is going to be just absolutely absurd, and he talks about the mental and the physical challenge of it. So Doug's always an interesting talking point in the off-season. He's obviously looking really good as well. But there's always some sort of Doug off-season content. Usually it's like October time. Doug starts talking about the hackers that he plays up against in ranked, and there's always a story about that usually. But yeah, gonna keep up with this one. I don't know when Doug is really planning to go for the attempt, but he's definitely training hard. So wishing him the best on his adventure, because I'm sure he's learning a lot about himself right now, because what he's attempting is far from easy, and you know, deserves a lot of credit as far as I'm concerned. Now, look, let's talk about Pred. He is joining OpTic Texas going forwards, and is considered one of the best SMGs in the game, and for very good reason. There has been some debate about this though over the last couple of days, because Zuma put together his tier list of players, and he had Pred in the A tier, which is like, oh well, who really cares? A tier, S tier, doesn't matter. But Octane, when he did his tier list a while ago, put Pred in the S tier, and there's been some debate as to where Pred belongs. And if you're talking pure talent and potential, and especially over the last couple of seasons, I'm thinking Pred's S tier personally. If you're looking at just in isolation the previous season in Modern Warfare 2, you can probably argue either way. Maybe you can argue A tier as well. This was his overall season card, by the way, so it's not like he had a bad season at all. He actually had an insane season, really. Towards the end, Pred wasn't quite as insane as he was at the start of the year, I would say, but the team was, in fairness, in a bit of a shambles, and his S&D was just otherworldly, let's be honest. Like, the KD, the first blood rate, the damage per rounds, just absolutely ridiculous. We're 96 overall, but Zuma says that he talks to multiple pro players, 3 or 4, and they all said when he was discussing his tier list, Pred should be an A tier player rather than in the S tier.
Or he's just a good friend of mine, and yada yada yada. And because I put Pred in A tier, which by the way, I asked multiple pros if they think AG should be in the S tier, and they all said A tier. I asked about 4 or 5 different pros, and they all said A tier. I'm obviously not gonna say which pros I asked, because I don't know if they would even. I don't want to get them into any drama or anything. But I asked a bunch of people, and they all said A tier. You know, and that's not, bro, that's not to say that he's not going to be an S tier player next year. Like, and everybody who thinks Pred is S tier, bro, I listen, I respect your opinion, bro. I respect your opinion. I see an argument for AG and S tier. I don't think it's crazy that people are like thinking AG should be an S tier. You know what I mean? I don't think it's crazy. So it's not that big of a deal. It's not that big of a deal, bro. But it's my opinion, bro. It's my opinion.
So what do you guys think about what Zuma has to say there, right? So he put together this tier list, and he actually had 7 players in his S tier, Dave Paddy, of course, being one of them, but let's just say 6 excluding Dave Paddy. And, okay, so HyDra, obviously, Octane, aBeZy, Cell, Scrap, and Dashy he had up in the S tier. And then in the A tier, you're looking at Shotzzy, Simp, and then Pred is here as well. Ghosty got in here, lots of the Subliners guys, and then you go down from there. So, you know, probably on the surface a reasonable looking list, but Pred in the A tier is a little bit interesting, and especially Zuma's explanation that many pros said he's A tier, not S tier. It's interesting because I was also hearing at the time that when the Envoy versus Pred discussion was being had for OpTic, a lot of pros thought that Envoy was the way to go instead. So I don't know why there seems to be this perception that maybe there's a perception among pros that Pred isn't quite as good as the perception of him is. But you know, I don't know. I think he's pretty damn nasty as far as I'm concerned. If you watch his PMV, he's really talented, and you can come up with various explanations as to why pro players might feel this way. And it is interesting always to hear that you know, there's always a difference difference between what the coaches think and what the players think and what often the fans think about certain players, because, well, a lot of the time these players are playing these guys in scrims. They know how they operate in and out of the game better maybe than the fans do, but still, Octane believes that he's S tier. So I do wonder who exactly was Zuma talking to there, because if Octane, he put this together a little while ago now, so this isn't brand new. I think this is a few weeks ago, maybe a month ago or something, just shortly after the World Championship. But he had Pred in his S tier, so his S tier was aBeZy, Cell, HyDra, Scrap, and Pred. Or that was the Z tier, sorry, Z tier, and then S tier is below, but you get what I mean, right? Basically, that's the S tier A. You guys can look at it the way you like, but that was his top tier of players, and he put Pred there. So if Octane thinks Pred's S tier, then who was giving Zuma those thoughts on Pred not being S tier? Because, you know, of all the players that he talks to, you could theorize on that one. But definitely intrigued your perspective in the comments below. Speaking of Octane, though, he gave his thoughts on the sound equalization warriors of the Boston Breach. Now, this was talked about on the episode where Kenny said that he barely even used it because it was too overwhelming. Like, when he turned the sound on, he really just could hear absolutely everything, and it was too much for him. And then I think Pred said that when he played Boston and Awakening, he was getting pre-fired while crouch walking, and it was like, this guy is just out of control. And Octane actually even goes one step further to say that they are straight up like they're in hell or they go into hell because of what they were doing last season. The crazy thing is, right, that this isn't just, we're not just talking about league matches, right? We're not just talking about regular season games or LAN games where it wasn't allowed on LAN because at the majors they would turn it off in the settings, but online it was. We're talking scrims, right? And of course you want to practice how you're going to play, and this is one of the reasons why Boston got into all that controversy for not turning off sound equalization when they went to LAN, and well, in the in-person LAN in Minnesota, was it the Minnesota one, was it the Wisconsin one, but whatever it was, they went out to play that home series. They played Minnesota on their, you know, on their stage in front of their home crowds, and they refused to take off the sound EQ cheese because it was technically an online league match, despite the fact that it is being played on LAN in person, and therefore they said, well, no, we want to keep playing how we're playing, and that caused a lot of drama at the time. We'll see some reaction to that in a second. But Octane is not happy about these guys at all, and kind of implies heavily that something's got to be done about this.
I screamed Boston one day, and I just said I'm getting used to it. That's what I said. I do not care how bad it sounds. I'm just getting used to it. I do not care.
Very kind, buddy. Thank you so much.
No. How? I'm legit doing an unreadable route crouch walking.
Nah, they had some good ass shit.
S&D scrims,
like they played against like any random people. They probably thought they were hacking.
100%.
Oh no, 100%. If they played on anonymous names and were playing challenger kids like that,
yeah,
Jimbo.
that's Jimbo.
That motherfucker Emac that Jimbo Prime. That motherfucker
honestly better than Jimbo.
They were first.
Nah, Boston was the actual merchants chat. Listen, I love being retired. It's actually like, it's just a free pass. It's like a hall pass. Yo, those motherfuckers are in hell, chat. When I say that they are the biggest sound EQ merchants in the world, bro. Oh my God. Scrimming those guys was legitimately playing for Jimbos. It was unbearable. Like I would come off spawn on, dude, I remember the play like it was yesterday. It was a CeeLo control, chat. I spawn up, we're on offense. I spawn behind white. It's like the building where you go B, like you spawn at that building, then you run across field. I spawn behind white. Wake is in top white in the right window. So I'm giving you guys the vivid picture. Top white on the little, there's a little hop up to get into white on the right side if you spawn in the back. There's that window on the right side. He's in that window looking at B. He just pinched, right? So he's killing my teammates off B. I'm spawned behind white at the wall. I take, no bullshit, one step forward. He pre-fires. The window is not broken. Turns around, pre-fires the wall jump up and kills me. I left the map. I go to game chat after. I'm like, y'all got sound EQ on? And they're like, yeah. I was like, okay. Dude, playing those guys was legitimate, like 4 Jimbos, bro. It was unbearable to scrim them. I hated it.
This was the tweet I'm sure many of you guys remember here from Afro, where he said on May the 7th after they played Boston, "I'll never understand the mindset of some pros, Boston, constant complaints about sound EQ, but when it comes to it, nothing gets done. Bunch of absolute freaks, he says. And, you know, Awakening says, GG's, bro, not sure if no sound EQ would have changed the results, though. And, you know, not about the result, you plum. It's about the fact that you refuse to take off the EQ when every other team took it off. So, yeah, good stuff, good times. I remember it very fondly. And, I mean, it's pretty funny looking back on that Boston team. It's what I find a little bit entertaining is that Beans was obviously doing this as well to some extent, but I think Beans was in the replies here saying, oh, you're a dirty one, Awakening, but people are like, you know, are you sure about that, Beans? Were you not doing this as well? Now, Awakening has been considered to be the biggest culprit for this, let's just say. And there were rumours that were going around over the last several months. If you guys don't know, sound EQ is loudness equalization. It's a Windows setting. You can turn it on in your Windows settings and it enables you to hear like just everything. It's kind of absurd. I've not used it personally, but the process is ridiculous. And it's been around for quite some time. I guess ever since we moved to PC, it's been possible to abuse this. And in Cold War, there were rumours from Crim6 and others that a team like Toronto discovered it first. Cammy has since denied this and said that's not the case. I think even Hixie, his own teammate, said that that might have been the case, but he wasn't on Toronto at the time, of course. So there have been some rumours that teams have actually been abusing this for quite a few years, and now it's become common knowledge you can do this, and Awakening is apparently the prime offender. Especially because Boston refusing to turn it off on LAN. That caused a lot of drama at the time, and I definitely think for good reason. But what are we going to do to stop this, right? Because as Octane says, you're scrimming against these Boston guys. You spawn in, take one step, Awakening spins around 180, pre-fires you. It's not a particularly good competitive experience, is it? And look, you can understand teams want to use everything to their advantage, but this isn't what we want to see, and it was disabled on LAN. I simply can't believe the fact that the teams and the CDL decided that it was so overpowered, or almost to the point of cheating, that it was going to be banned in a LAN environment. But yet online, it's free game, because the CDL didn't know how to police it. So, you know, go ahead and do what you like type thing. And there were ways you could potentially police it, just saying, look, it is banned, guys. You're not allowed to use it. And every series will be doing a random PC check to make sure that it's off. And, you know, maybe that wouldn't work. There's various ways that people could potentially get around it. But, you know, if that's the line from the CDL, would players risk getting caught cheating in that sense? Maybe they would, maybe they wouldn't, right? But Awakening is going to be on a team next season. And he's a controversial player for not just the sound equalization reasons. Octane saying that he's going to go to hell for what he did this past year, but also just because he's been around the league for some time. Ever since he was in the league, actually, since Modern Warfare 2019, people always gassed up his crazy awareness, right? That was, people thought he was wall hacking when he first came into the league because his awareness was just that good. And you do have to wonder, looking back, whether the loudness equalization was being used ahead of its time, shall we say. But he is no doubt a very talented player. He shoots very straight, can get a lot of kills, and be a big slayer. And with accuracy as your AR counterpart, you're going to need a big slayer in Awakening, and that's probably the role that he's going to do. Can accuracy get the best out of Awakening? I think that if Rokkr go with this roster, they'll be hoping that's the case. But Awakening hasn't really changed that much as a player over the last several years. Ever since he's been in the league, on Florida, on Boston, he's pretty much been the same player. Like a heavy slayer, gets a lot of kills, but is he that impactful? How, you know, is his playstyle really aligned best with winning? That's okay. He won a fair bit on Florida back in Modern Warfare 19, but that was a very different team with a very different environment. They had Pharaoh, of course, rest in peace. They had Frosty. So there were lots of things going that team's way they don't arguably presently have. So I think there's a question to be raised about Awakening on a couple of different fronts. If he has the same tendencies as a player again this year, even with accuracy, there's that side of the story. But also, should teams go into the new season and say, look, wait, Rokkr, we're not scrimming you if you're using sound EQ. If Awakening is going to kill me one step off spawn, we're not playing it, right? Like, I think the teams need to come up with a way to be like, look, if you're going to use it, we're going to blacklist you type thing. Because I'm not sure the CDL is going to step in and control this. So maybe the players have to do it themselves. And if Awakening is the prime culprit and prime suspect, then maybe the pros have to take matters into their own hands to some degree. Because there's always talk about blacklisting, isn't there? It's like, oh, you know, well, you refuse to follow GAs, so we're going to not scrim you. But that's a legitimate tactic, and it can actually work if the pros actually were to all agree that this is the correct, course of action to take. So very much enjoyed your perspective on that in the comment section below. I thought this was a nice little Brian stat here as well, actually, to close out the video, looking at how close these two legendary guys of the scene are in terms of, like, all-time YouTube views. across the couple of main channels that Nadeshot and Scump have, they have almost 700 or 670 million views apiece. And it's incredible how close they are really over all this time. And Scump is quite possibly going to overtake Nadeshot over the coming months, which would be an interesting battle to keep your eyes on. But very much enjoyed to your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Take care. And I'll see you next time.